Jason got a message from an old friend last week. His name is Raj. They met at a tech conference in 2019. Raj lives in Singapore. He just bought his second apartment. At 32. Not his second bedroom, his second apartment. As an investment property. Jason is 35. He has $47,000 saved. He rents. His car has a check engine light he's been ignoring since February. Jason does not feel broke. He makes $80,000 a year. He has savings. He has a plan. Mostly. But compared to his peers around the world, people his age, his education level, his career stage, Jason is significantly, measurably, and specifically behind. And today, we are going to find out exactly why, and exactly what to do about it. The global wealth reality. Let's start with the actual global numbers, because most Americans have no idea where they actually stand compared to the rest of the world. To be in the global top 10% of wealth at age 30, you need a net worth of approximately $93,000. That includes everything: savings, investments, home equity, car value, minus all debts. To be in the global top 1% at age 30, you need approximately $435,000 in net worth. The median global net worth at age 30 is approximately $7,900. Jason, with his $47,000, is already in the global top 15%. He just doesn't feel like it. But here is the problem. Jason is not competing globally. He is living in America. And in America, the math is completely different. In America, $47,000 in net worth at 35 puts Jason in the bottom 40% of his age group, not the bottom 40% of the world, the bottom 40% of one of the wealthiest countries on Earth. And this is where it gets genuinely interesting, because the reason Jason is in the bottom 40% in America, but the top 15% globally, has nothing to do with his work ethic. It has everything to do with the system he was born into.
Country by country comparison. Let's look at what 30-year-olds in other countries are actually doing with their money, because the contrast is genuinely shocking. Singapore, Raj's home. The average 30-year-old in Singapore has a net worth of approximately $155,000, nearly 3 times what Jason has, on similar incomes, adjusted for cost of living. Why? 3 reasons. Singapore's mandatory savings system, CPF, forces 37% of every paycheck into savings and investments automatically, before the money touches a bank account. Australia. The average 30-year-old Australian has a net worth of approximately $130,000, also significantly ahead of Jason. Also because of a mandatory savings system, Superannuation, that forces 11% of every paycheck into retirement. Germany. The average 30-year-old German has a net worth of approximately $85,000, still ahead of Jason, despite Germany having lower average salaries than America. How? Germany has universal healthcare, no student loan crisis, heavily subsidized housing, and a culture that treats saving as a social norm rather than a personal sacrifice. And then there is America, where Jason pays $587 a month in student loan payments, $312 a month in health insurance, $287 a month in car insurance, and has zero mandatory savings system forcing him to build wealth. Jason is not behind because he is lazy. He is behind because America is the only developed nation on Earth that makes wealth building entirely optional and then blames individuals when they fail to do it.
The 3 American wealth destroyers. There are 3 specific systems in America that exist nowhere else in the developed world at this scale, and all 3 hit 30-year-olds hardest. Wealth Destroyer 1, student loans. The average American 30-year-old carries $38,000 in student loan debt. At current interest rates, that costs $412 a month minimum. Over a 10-year repayment period, that is $49,440 in payments. If that $412 had been invested instead from age 22 to age 30, 8 years, it would be $57,000 today at 7% return.
That is the true cost of the American student loan system, not just the debt, the compounding you never got. Wealth destroyer 2, healthcare. The average American 30-year-old spends $6,400 a year on healthcare. Premiums, copays, deductibles, prescriptions. In Germany, that number is 0. In Australia, that number is 0. In Singapore, that number is near 0. That's $6,400 a year invested from age 22 to 30 at 7% return would be $89,000 today. Jason's healthcare costs alone have cost him $89,000 in lost wealth before he turns 31. Wealth destroyer 3, housing costs. The price-to-income ratio in America is now 5.0. In Germany, it is 3.2. In Japan, it is 3.8. In Canada, it is 4.1. America is the most expensive developed nation on earth to house yourself relative to what you earn. Combined, student loans, healthcare, and housing, the average American 30-year-old is carrying a wealth destruction burden of approximately $2,100 a month that simply does not exist for their peers in other developed nations.
The mindset trap. But here is what makes it worse. The American cultural response to this burden is to blame the individual, not the system. The personal finance industry in America is worth $1.6 billion a year. It exists almost entirely to sell individuals solutions to systemic problems. Cut your lattes, make your own lunch, skip the avocado toast. If Jason skipped his daily coffee for 30 years, he would save $32,850. His student loan interest alone costs him more than that. The math on individual frugality as a solution to systemic wealth destruction simply does not work. And here is the psychological trap that hits 30-year-olds hardest. They compare themselves to other Americans, not to Raj in Singapore, not to their German peers, to their neighbor, their coworker, their college roommate. And because everyone around them is also carrying the same $2,100 monthly burden, they conclude the burden is normal. It is not normal. It is uniquely American. What Jason actually does. So what can Jason actually do? He cannot change the student loan system. He cannot install universal health care. He cannot single-handedly fix American housing costs. But he can do what Singapore figured out 40 years ago. He can make wealth building mandatory for himself, automatic, non-negotiable, before his lifestyle gets to the money. Step 1. Calculate your personal burden number. Add up your student loans, healthcare costs, and excess housing costs versus what you would pay in a lower-cost market. That is your systemic tax. Know it exactly. Step 2. Build your own mandatory savings system. Automate 20% of every paycheck to investments before it reaches your checking account. Not 5%, not 10%, 20%. This is your personal CPF. Step 3. Attack the highest interest debt first. If Jason has student loans at 6.5% and credit card debt at 21%, the credit card is destroying wealth faster than any investment can build it. Step 4. Stop comparing yourself to your American neighbors and start comparing yourself to your future self. The question is not, am I ahead of my coworker? The question is, am I ahead of where I was 12 months ago? Jason texts Raj back, not to compare, to ask one question. What does your mandatory saving system actually look like month to month? Raj sends back a screenshot. 37%, automatic, every month, since his first paycheck at 24. Jason does not have a mandatory saving system. He has a voluntary one, which is another way of saying he has good intentions and a very persuasive Amazon checkout page. Tonight, he sets up the automatic transfer. Not 5%, not when he feels ready. 20%, starting this Friday. Where do you actually stand? Run your global number. Take your net worth, everything you own minus everything you owe, and drop the range in the comments. Because most Americans think they are behind. Some of you are exactly where the system designed you to be. Either way, knowing is better than guessing. Hit the like button if this changed how you see your situation. Subscribe to follow Jason's journey, and I will see you in the next one.